So welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to wet sand your panels. So what do you need when wet sanding your panels? You need your soapy water. Of course, always use new soapy water. So never use that milky soapy water that you used yesterday. Of course, sanding blocks. So it can be this, or your pads that are made of sleepers or wood. Now, I like pads because they're a bit flexible, or these heavy sanding blocks because I like these sanding blocks. I'll tell you later why. And of course, sandpaper. It could either be 600 or an 800, depending on why you're wet sanding. There are a few reasons why you do wet sanding. One is removing oversprays like this, or removing orange peel like this. Either you're removing it for polishing. If you're wet sanding it for polishing, you'll be starting, it depends on how rough the surface is. I would go as rough as 600, and then I'll go 800, 1,000, 1,200, 3,000, 5,000, up to 7,000. So it depends on what the task is. Now, if you're prepping it for paint again, like what I'm doing here, because I used the wrong gun. It produced a lot of orange peel because my compressor is not producing enough pressure. So if you see, there's a lot of orange peel. So I am wet sanding this again to respray it with my other spray gun. As I've said earlier, I like to use this because in wet sanding, you actually don't have to apply pressure. With this, you're just gonna, you can just rely on the weight of the sanding block. Soapy water helps lubricate the paint and at the same time prevents clogging your sandpaper. Because clogs will scratch your paint. So this is okay if you're wet sanding a wide flat surface. Flat, slightly curved. Now take note of how your sandpaper sounds, because that's how, now if you hear that, you will hear that. That's a very hard substance, maybe a sand or maybe a particle of your sandpaper that will end up scratching your paint. Now on this particular job, I don't mind getting scratches, but as much as you can, prevent it, especially if you are going to polish your paint. For this job, it's not an issue because I can just sand it again. But of course, you always try to prevent these things. So you need, by the way, a rug. I like to use, what do you call this? This spongy thing, chamois. Bear with me. This is not an English channel. Tell me how it's pronounced in the comment. So I use this to reveal my progress. Now, if you're doing this task, make sure that your lighting is from there so you can look at it. Let me show you. So you will see that the shiny part is the one that you want to eliminate, and that's why you want your light to be in front of you. So look, you see how bad the orange peel is? So once you've seen or you've revealed your progress, just sand again those shiny spots. And then just wipe it off and reveal it again. Now if it's really rough, then you go a cursor sandpaper. But again, if you go with a coarser sandpaper, you need to sand it again with a finer sandpaper, or else it will reveal on your finished product, whether you're spraying it or you're polishing it, especially polishing. With respraying, you'll be okay with 600. With polishing, you really have to finish it up with, I think the courses would be 2000 before you start using a buffing machine to polish it. Now with how you hold your sanding block, so you're trying to feel the surface, because sometimes you will try to feel using the middle, or sometimes you will try to use the edge. The edge usually work when you're just, see, I'm putting pressure here because I'm going that way. So if I'm going the opposite way, I'm putting it on the other side. So the pressure is on this side. Again, the pressure is not, it's just light pressure. Now always, you will feel it. And even the sound, you see, let me just put the mic here. So this is the sound of an almost fine finish. Now this is the sound of a very rough surface. So it will change, and it tells you, see, this is almost done. This sound is almost done. That's very rough. Okay. Now always dip your sandpaper in your soapy water to declog your sandpaper. It prolongs your sandpaper's life, and at the same time it prevents scratching your paint job. Now on tight spaces, I would use a pad. If you are wet sanding this for polishing, be careful with corners like this, because you might burn through it. Now if you have tight spaces like this, Either you go with your wood, just make sure that there's no wood hitting your paint. So speaking of burning through, that's burning through. Now I am burning through this paint. First, I really don't care because we are respraying this. Second, there's not enough paint on this paint job because right after I did my second pass, the pressure of the compressor just couldn't deliver. See, that's just a layer of paint, I would say. That's why we burn through easily. This type, you just clip it here and then clip it here. Now this is very good on, again, on very big flat surfaces. Okay. Always, we call it lubing. So now the problem with this is your control. If you're using it like this, you have limited control. So if I am using this, I usually hold it like so. So I have control on left to right. Because if it's just like this, then you don't have control. You're just guessing where the contact is going to. Or if you're wet sanding, don't just wet sand on one position like that, because you're just gonna scrape off on that area and not spread it around. So you want it to be on all surfaces. You're evenly sanding the surfaces. And the reason why you always have a sanding block or a pad is for you not to create what we call it holographic effect. So it creates a multi-ripple, micro ripple, where you will really see that in your finish. So here's another tip. Make sure that this is bent upwards, or else the tip of the paper will actually scratch your paint. That's this one, sanding your surface unevenly. Again, back to when do we wet sand? We wet sand on paint, on clear, and also on primers. Like this. The only time that you will not wet sand is when there is body filler. A body filler, they absorb moisture a lot, so you don't want it to be wet. Let me just finish this part and I'll show you how a finished portion looks like. On corners, I like to put the weight here slight pressure. You see the finger? But it's not pushing, it's just positioned there where the weight will be on that particular area. I think this is done. I can feel it. Just listen to how your sanding sounds, and eventually you will learn how a finished surface sounds like. So this is your finished surface. See, there's no more shiny spots. There's still a few here. And this is your orange peel. And this you still have to do a few. Now I finished the other side, and this should be your finished product. That's it. That's how you wet sand. Hope you got something from this video. Peace.